you to do it. I want you to do it. Come on! Come on. Come on. I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me! Hit me!
Steven put up another Super7 video and invited me to respond to it. Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Toy Reviews. I humbly accept. I would like to point out that I already did a bit of a thought dump about this topic on Twitter, so I think, legally speaking, Steven is supposed to respond to me, so I think I might have to take a couple points off for that. Kidding aside, I am pretty active on Twitter, where I'll share my thoughts kind of off the cuff on news or big announcements, things like that. So links down below if you want to check it out and drop a follow. In case you somehow missed it, Big Bad Toy Store is doing a gigantic Super7 Ultimates clearance sale where items are, from between 20% and 60% off, and includes items that were released not too long ago to maybe a year or just over a year ago. Super7 themselves have even been promoting this on Twitter and on Instagram, maybe Facebook, I really couldn't tell you. And trying to make use of this sale as a Canadian is painful, to say the least. Now this sale is occurring because Big Bad Toy Store has an overabundance of Super7 products, to the point where it's more worth their money to sell these products at a loss than to keep them just kind of lying around. As Steven points out, there are other retailers that do sales like this or clearance these items out, but I think that Big Bad Toy Store was like the triggering incident for Steven, so that's probably the one that I'll refer to in this video. So Steven has titled his video, "I don't think that Super7 figures have value." And right off the bat, I'm cool with it. If you watched my recent video on this topic, you've already heard me say that absolute value does not exist. So I think we're off to a good start. The first major point that Steven brings up in this video is the idea that the overabundance of stock is a result of customers canceling their pre-orders. There are specialty retailers that like to keep items in stock, for those who, for whatever reason, may have missed out on the initial purchasing window or when the figures land, and later discover these figures. And in the case of those stores, it's perfectly normal to see items in stock maybe 6 to 12 months after when they initially come out. The implication that this sale is happening because customers are canceling their pre-orders after seeing them in hand, I don't think it's quite right. And I don't think it's a strong argument in this case. Right now, waves 1 through 6 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are on clearance on Big Bad Toy Store, while waves 7 through 10 have all had enough orders to meet minimum order quantity. If so many people canceled wave 1, and so many people canceled wave 2, and so many people canceled wave 3, and so on, I have a hard time believing that enough people and retailers committed to purchasing waves 7 through 10 to make minimum order quantity. I'm much more inclined to think that Big Bad Toy Store just ordered way too many of these things. Even Thundercats Wave 6 is on clearance, and that wave was, at least from what I could see, universally regarded as awesome. Like, even Steven himself said that he liked it. Wave 3 of Toxic Crusaders is on clearance for 20% off. That just came out, and people really like it. But Toxie is a really small property. Not that many people like Toxie, and so for things like that, again, I think that Big Bad Toy Store just overestimated the number of people that wanted this product. So while I'm sure that canceled orders have played a role in the amount of inventory that's available, and maybe this is the point that Steven was trying to make, I think that they're far from being the dominant factor that caused this sale to happen. Now, Steven has raised an interesting question in that, how would you feel if you paid $55 per figure to get a wave produced, help it meet minimum order quantity, just for it to be clearanced a few months after it kind of lands? And dear viewer, let me tell you a story. About 8 or 9 years ago, I was visiting my local town comic shop, which is still running to this day, thankfully, on Boxing Day with some of the cash that I had received from family members. And I was really hoping to pick up some cool stuff, get some good deals, stuff like that. I walked in to find SH Monster Arts, Space Godzilla, Little Godzilla, Fire Rodan, and King Kong for 50% off MSRP. I only walked out with Space Godzilla because that's all I could afford, and I walked out with him paying about $45 Canadian. Some of you folks out there might have that same first release of the Space Godzilla figure. And for you, specifically, I have a question. Does the fact that I got the figure at a really good price or even that this price was available to someone like me, does that cheapen the enjoyment that you have for your figure? I would hope not. But if it does, maybe you don't like your figure as much as you think you do. Figures going on sale or deep discount or clearance happen across the board at this point, even Monster Arts on occasion. There was recently a mass clearance event of Marvel Legends that were released very, very recently, like within the past 2 months. It was happening at Target for like 50% off, and nobody could have really predicted that happening. But I think it's safe to say that Marvel Legends isn't in any real danger. And to tie it all back up nicely with one of the first things that Steven said, do not buy these things if you don't like them for the price. Many years ago, my dad told me, as a general rule of thumb when you want to buy something, is that you look at the price and determine, do I like this for the price, or do I love this for the price? And that's really helped me with a lot of my purchasing decisions when it comes to toy collecting and this hobby. As I've bought a house, as I had a car, as I try to start a family, I've really had to kind of hone in on what things bring me joy and bring me, happiness to collect. And so Marvel Legends, outside of, like the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield stuff coming out, Transformers, all that stuff I've really put a big halt on, unless there's a figure that really speaks to me. But with all of these deep discounts abound happening at these retailers, if you don't love something for the price, you could probably wait for it. Now, before I wrap this up, I do want to speak a little bit as to why I think this sale will be one of, if not the last, large Super 7 purge that we will see. I believe that this marks a turning point in Super 7's business strategy as it relates to their retail partners. It's always been at least a little bit strange to me that retailers would be doing mass orders for figures that were done on a made-to-order basis direct to customers. In Super 7's earlier days with Ultimates, I guess that nobody really knew Ultimates, or Super 7 was still relatively unknown, and so if you missed out on an initial pre-order or just didn't know that these things existed, I could see where Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, I could see where they would see opportunities to stock extra copies of these things, just so that when the reviews come out, when people start to learn more about it, people get that kind of second chance to buy these things. But as we approach an environment where everyone kind of knows what Super 7 is, and you can find them in Best Buy, and I think Walmart now has G.I. Joe Ultimates, at least some of the Walmarts do. People kind of know what they're getting into with Super 7, for better or worse. And so I don't think that there's that many people who are missing out on these initial pre-order windows or anything like that. And so I think that Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth are doing a lot of purchasing for customers that just aren't there. And they're not there because those customers made their informed decisions because they know what Super 7 makes now. Now, whether or not this sale is good or bad for Super 7, is a slash figure under $20 bad for Super 7? I don't think necessarily so. The vast majority of people who wanted a slash figure already have that slash figure. But there's always going to be people who look at that price as, too high, or really comes at a bad time where they can't afford to pay that $55. But now offering a figure at $19, it provides a lower cost of entry to people who have never really delved into the Ultimates line. And you never know, a $20 slash purchase today might mean a $55 Rat King purchase come January, February-ish. The saying that the first one's free exists for a reason. And if I wasn't getting completely ripped apart by the shipping and duty getting these things to Canada, I would partake as well. As for the business model, Brian has spoken in the recent Thundercats interview that retail partners ordering as many figures as they want can hurt them, and it can also hurt Super 7. In the interest of driving more direct sales, as I discussed in my last video, I do think that we will start to see either a natural reduction in how many units these retail partners are buying, as evidenced by this giant sale, or I think that we will start to see Super 7 put a limit on how many figures that these retail partners can sell. As evidenced by the Big Bad Toy Store mega sale, I think either of these paths are in Super 7's best interest. That's a wrap for this video. Did you pick up anything from the Big Bad Toy Store mega sale? Are you willing to ship it to Canada? Let me know down below what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.